Welcome to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. We have a reoccurring guest, our friend Jackie Tempera. She is an incredible award-winning journalist. We ran an event with her in May of this past year called Raise the Bar. We had the best time ever. She's also a wordsmith, a storyteller. She helps people learn how to tell their story in a way that is beautiful, impactful, not salesy. So if you're somebody who's like, ooh, I need a little bit of help, hit up our girl. But today we are doing something very fun and different. It is October, it is Halloween season, and we thought what fun it would be to do um, an astrology episode. So we're going to go through each sign and give tips on how you can show up best through PR efforts. So, I'm a Gemini, like what would be the best way for me to communicate my value and my brand to the masses? So we have Jackie here with us today. She actually has a series called Horoscopes, and you can go to her Instagram to get a little taste of that. It's so much fun, but she is like super into astrology. So I'm going to pass over the mic.
Thank you. I like you when you introduce me. I don't know why I would like you, but I like it. And yes, I do love astrology. I love October. My birthday is at the end of October. So yeah,
Does
this
that
is
make you
really
a
fun.
Scorpio?
I am a Scorpio indeed.
We love our
Mhm.
Wait, can you give
Scorpio
us a
gals.
quick rising
Of
sun and moon
course,
for
it would be
yourself
my
so we
honor.
know? Honor.
Yes, I am a Scorpio sun and rising and a Capricorn moon, which I feel like makes a lot of sense because it's like I'm a very investigative gal, and then also like the balance of Earth, which is like, yeah, all the Capricorn stuff. What is
Yeah.
I know you're a Gemini. I don't remember your sign,
Our
Bridget.
gal, we have a lot of Leo energy.
You're a Leo. I did know that. I did know that. Okay, can we go through everybody's big three?
Yeah, there you
Yes.
go.
So I'm a Gemini sun, a Leo rising, and an Aries moon. So I joke around. A lot of my chart is like air and fire. So I joke around
Yeah.
that I have a million thoughts and go 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I have Capricorn in my chart. So my rising is Capricorn, which like I really resonate with a lot. A lot of people think I'm an earth sign like right away when they meet me because they're like, you're so grounded. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
but like I want to be center of attention too. Um, and my moon is in Aquarius.
Oh, fun. That's a fun moon, I feel like. It means you're like a little quirky and weird, but in a good way. I love quirky and weird. Um
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but too funny. So let's get into it today. I guess we'll start with you. You came with like amazing notes. Maybe we can
Oh,
go
I came.
through.
I'm prepared.
She came, she's prepared. If you don't know what your astrology sign is, I highly recommend while listening to this, please don't do it while you're driving, to go over to like astro.com or something like that and find what your sun is at least. I think a lot of like rising sign energy too is important. You probably know more than me, but I think the both of those are super helpful. So keep them in mind as we're going through each sign and what makes sense for you in terms of media. We do actually have like a press personality quiz, or like what did we call it? Media personality quiz, which I think is really helpful too, but I think it only kind of like dips your toes into what personality you have for the media. So this is like the episode I would say for it.
Yes, if you're a little bit witchy and also love PR, this is for you. And I would agree that yes, like sun is always important, but rising sign, which is dependent on the time and place of your birth, is sort of like your outward personality. So if we're thinking about PR, like your sort of like the front or like the mask that you put on would be kind of maybe more resonating with your rising sign. Mine are the same. So it's easy for me. But I'll also give the dates for each sign too. But yes, if you're driving, don't look them up. I got you. And could start with Aries, right?
Let's
And
start with
Lydia, you're
Aries.
an Aries moon. So, they're all about fire. And so I was telling Lydia and Bridget before this, but for this episode, I picked a celebrity who is the sign we're going to be talking about. So everybody can kind of get a taste of the personality if you don't, study the zodiac in the way that I do. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So our astrological new year starts March 21st. So if you're born between March 21st and April 19th, that means that you're in Aries. It's a fire sign, which means like big, bold, fearless energy. And the thing that I like to remember about Aries is since they are the first sign of the zodiac, they're kind of like the leader or like the go-getter, then they're all about like taking charge. My little sister is an Aries and she's definitely this way, which is just like, yeah, they're ready to like share what's on their mind at all times, no matter how it's received. So in terms of PR, I think that Aries would be sort of like the trendsetter. Like maybe they're courting a little bit of controversy for themselves. Like I'm not saying that they like, I don't know, have a fake PR relationship or something like that. But I'm saying, like, think about something a little bit different. Like maybe you post sort of, I don't know, I'm feeling like April Fool's energy. Like when brands like post something that's fake and then it's like, oh, just kidding, but we're launching this like really cool other thing. Um, and just like really like breaking ground. And our celebrity sort of focus here, because I'd love for you guys to think about this too, is Lady Gaga. So obviously someone that's like really, out there, we're talking meat dress. And she actually started her career by sort of making herself into this character that was like larger than life and super, weird and out there to attract attention. So that might be something that Aries may consider this time, or just in general. I think that would be in alignment with them.
Yeah,
Would they
I
be
always Oh, go ahead, Bridget.
would they be into like not controversy, but like really making a point almost so strongly that like kind of polarizing, but like in a
Yes.
cool way, maybe, in how they
Yeah.
approach?
So that's such a good way of putting it. Like, yeah, like Aries is all about like standing by their unpopular opinion, right? It's like they're not going to care if it's like, oh, this is like a really taboo subject in my industry, but I'm going to tackle it head on and be the trendsetter in that. So, if we are thinking about, yeah, like Lady Gaga, like I just said, with her clothing, with the way that she just like spoke when she started her career too, she was just so straight up against any allegations against her. And I'm a big fan of Lady Gaga, and I remember her press campaign for A Star Is Born, where she repeated that story of like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was like, there could be 100 people in a room, and all you need is one person to believe in you. And she was talking about Bradley Cooper, but that sort of talking point, she repeated it so much that that became kind of the story of the press tour, was like this supercut of Lady Gaga repeating that quote so many times. Whether or not she did that on purpose, I don't know, but it's sort of like an iconic quote from her that is now like very memeified. So I see that as like a very Aries trait too, like being this kind of out of the box thinker, this leader.
Yeah, and even taking it to a step further and being a little dork about it, like a star is fire.
Mhm.
So it really kind of resonated on so many layers for me. And when I think about my Aries friends, they are people and business owners specifically, people that are not afraid to march to the beat of their own drum. They're kind of just like outspoken, but in a tasteful way, kind of like what Bridget was saying. I freaking love this. So different energy, and we'll get to Leo too, but like where they're kind of not afraid to be the center of attention, but in a way where they're just like, I'm gonna do me, hop on or not.
Yeah, I feel like the difference between Aries and Leo is like Leo very much likes to be the center of attention, and like that's kind of part of their personality. I have two Leo parents and they like attention. And uh but Aries I think sort of like garners attention, but they're like, "Oh, why is everyone looking at me?" Meanwhile, they're
Yep.
dressed in a meat dress. So I think that that's kind of like how I see them differently, whereas Leo would be like, oh, let me like create this situation where I'm going to be the leader. Aries just kind of comes to them more naturally, maybe.
Yeah. So our advice, tap into meat dress energy. Like tap into it.
Maybe they have some like really punchy subject lines or something like that when they reach out too. Like something just very, I don't know, like it pulls you in. It draws the attention right away. So maybe for those people who are listening, it's like you're meant to make a stand and like really, really like dive into your belief and so strongly that who's ever reading it, whether it's a podcast host or like whatever it looks like for you, they're like, whoa, this person really cares about this. Like, damn.
Yeah, this person cares about this and they're not afraid to be controversial and stand by their
Ooh,
truth. So I think
that's
that's our advice for Aries.
Amen,
Okay.
Aries.
Get it. All right, we'll move on to Taurus. So Taurus is April 20th to May 20th. Um, Taurus is all about like luxury, sensuality, being like they're an earth sign, so very grounded. And Taurus likes like aesthetically pleasing things too. So whenever I'm writing about Taurus, I always kind of like joke, but it's like, oh, they love those like high red count sheets and like creating their apartment to be like a little vibe with like candles around and just like making everything cozy. So, with that in mind, I feel like could either do some sort of like fall campaign. I actually got PR recently. I'm not going to say that Samsung is a Taurus, but they were acting like it because they sent me a really cozy blanket and a fall candle. So, like maybe doing something that's more experiential so that people understand what you're all about. If you're a Taurus business owner, you're probably like looking for these more like high-end partnerships or just offering a service that feels luxurious to your clients, whether that's just by offering like a lot of support or sending your clients gifts or something like that, just so that they know like this is important to you and you're like a really high value person. So I would say for Tauruses, and my example for this one is Adele, who is a Taurus queen. And I feel like she's someone
Queen.
who it's like think about her Las Vegas show. She is very like in her diamonds and her ball gowns, like has this like incredible voice and she kind of does the thing she does and then she like retreats. That's very Taurus to me. So it's like if you're looking to kind of create a stir in this season or just with your business, I would do focus your energy on one big experience or campaign that's very like luxe and then like retreat and rethink it and come up with another one. I think that's where Taurus really shine.
I love that. When I think of Adele, I think of like elegant without trying to be.
Yes.
And even thinking about like campaigns for or like just PR and pitching in general for Taurus or Taurus brands. Now you're making me think of brands. I'm like, when was VOP birthed? Which I know,
Oh
right?
gosh.
I'm pretty sure it's like
for
either
January or February.
it
We're
might be
either like
Capricorn.
Aquarius or Capricorn.
Yeah.
Wait, I think my business is a Taurus.
Feels right. Feels right.
It
But
does.
oh, but like
Oh,
when
I
Taurus, when I'm thinking of like pitching Taurus, it's like having that elegant way of like speaking, even too, like in the pitch, that like elegance, groundedness, and just like demanding like only like top luxury. And I'm not sure if I'm like portraying this correctly, but if I read it, I'd be like, oh, that feels Taurus vibes, where it's like, am I explaining this
Well,
correctly?
I have a potential
Bridget,
example of this. I don't know if it's
go for
exactly
it.
that. So both my parents are Taurus, which is very interesting. And like there are aspects of this that like yes, they like luxury things, but my mom works in Florida right now. She works at a like chiropractor's kind of like medical clinic, very, very like upscale. It's very
Very.
luxury, very expensive. My mom listened to him on a podcast and pitched herself literally to be like, I want to work here. Like, I want to work for you. And I would love to see that email because she's very grounded, but like analytical and like went for the top spot. Like, she was
Yeah.
like, she like luxury, like, she wanted the top potential opportunity in terms of salary. Like, she was just like going for gold. And I know it, like,
Yes.
but in a grounded way because she knew that she like could get that and she she has.
Yeah, so it's like that is a perfect example, Bridget. And go, what's your mom's name?
Tara.
Go Tara. That's boss behavior. But I think that's like so perfect of Taurus because it's like they're grounded, right? Because they're an earth sign. So we think of like the earth is literally that's the ground we're on as long as we're here. But so she knows her value, right? She knows that she has these things that she can offer. She's not just like throwing a crazy offer at the wall, like maybe an air sign might like have a inflated sense of self. No offense to my air signs. You have other great strengths too. So she's like calculated about it, but also is like, no, actually I deserve that six-figure salary or whatever it may be. And here's why, and this is what my vision is for this space. And I think also like luxury doesn't have to mean expensive too. Like you can
Yes.
be luxurious by like yeah, just by being intentional about the space and the campaigns that you're curating. And I think that, like you said, Lydia, like there's like an aesthetic piece that kind of like can look luxurious, right? So if you're making graphics or posting a new blog post or podcast, maybe you think about how you can make that experience feel very comforting to your potential client or viewer or listener.
Yeah, definitely. Gosh, this is so cool. This could even be like a branding conversation for
I
brand.
love
Think
this.
about, yeah, like I'm like, oh, this is so good. So think about like when your brand was birthed as well. So if you're not necessarily a personal brand and this might not resonate with you, you can also take a look at when your business got its LLC or maybe like when you came up with the idea and started going after it. I think that could be really supportive as well.
Yeah, totally. Because I mean, I think the three of us here believe in astrology strongly. I think it's like crazy to
Obsessed.
think that we're not influenced by larger forces at play. Like if the ocean is affected by the planets, like I'm gonna be. I know that's not necessarily scientific, but that's my science of the day. But yeah, I think that there's just like different themes we can learn from all of these things. So just like whatever resonates with you, like let it resonate with you. And if you're a Taurus and you're like, I actually like live in a van and have like a very minimalistic lifestyle, like then maybe that's not for you. Maybe look at your other signs.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. One of my friends, and we can move on, is a Taurus. And he's like, I never resonate with it because, like, I don't love material. I'm not materialistic. But what's funny is he loves comfort. Like, he's
Yeah,
not
it's
going to,
comfort. It's not
yes,
material. Mhm.
no. And so, yeah, he doesn't like, he's not like materialistic in that sense, but like, they're not going to stay at like a hostel. Like they're going to stay at like a nice hotel or Airbnb. You know what I mean? Like that's where he's at. Like he is in Asia right now, and I bet you he's staying in this like luxury hotel where like and he's not staying at some like big center or something like that. And yes, he's like he travels a ton, but he's taking Ubers and cars, maybe not public transportation. So I think when we're thinking of Taurus, it's like not the vanity metrics, it's more so a state of being of like elegance and comfort and yes, groundedness.
Mhm. Yeah, I think of that like quote from Kim Cattrall, the woman that plays Samantha Jones, who's like, I don't even want to be in a place for 1 minute where I'm uncomfortable. Like that's very Taurus energy. Like they want to be comfy. If they're not, they're going home to lay in their, silk sheets.
Yes.
Um, all right. So Gemini is next, and that's Lydia's son. Da, 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 da. Very playful and communicative. And the dates are May 21st through June 20th. So Gemini is all about duality. And I thought it was funny that you said at the beginning of our conversation that you're like have a million ideas and you're always going like a mile a minute or whatever that phrase is. But for you, it's all about like channeling that energy in lots of different ways, which also goes back to our repurposing conversation, like repurposing content, like, or just like tackling multiple things at once, because a Gemini is going to get a little bit bored. So maybe let's say you're launching a podcast, Gemini, this month. You should also be looking at like maybe how to grow that podcast on TikTok. So it's like scratching two different sides of your brain and just like thinking of different interactive things, because Geminis like to chat, they like to like get everybody's information, they like to be seen, and they're very outspoken. And while this is a controversial Gemini celebrity, we're gonna go for it anyway. Kanye West, multifaceted individual. Obviously his behavior is not the best, but if you do look at the brands that he built and just like his single-mindedness about, you know, Yeezy was a huge company. I don't think they're doing particularly well at the moment, but when they were like really at their height, and it was a lot of it was based on his passion and his celebrity.
Yeah. And I think he's a great person to talk about because he's very much okay with his polarity. Like he's known for his like outrageous Instagram posts and then he deletes them and then he'll post something else and it's kind of flip-floppy and I'm not saying I am that way, but what I'm saying is a lot of Geminis, from my personal experience and seeing others, are very okay with seeing both sides of an argument and speaking on both and not saying that one is right or one is wrong, but having multiple perspectives or being able to hold multiple perspectives, which is how I feel about like the two-faced thing. So I'm like, it's not two-faced, it's seeing different sides. But I did see Bridget giggle when you were talking about certain things. So I want to hear what she has to say.
Well, I just think this is like very much you. Like Lydia's playful and communicative, and I think this is why like you're a really good publicist too, because like I read your pitches, you know what I mean? Like they're
Same.
fun. Yeah, and they're right. Jackie's
Yeah.
reading them too. Jackie's getting them to her inbox.
I
Jackie
love
read
them.
one today.
They're playful. Like it is Lydia's energy. So I think that's where you really like are leaning into yourself and just like your natural gifts, because not everyone writes like that. Like we
Yes.
know that. So you really are able to bring in your playful personality. And this is why I think you believe so much in like having people bring their personality into like pitching
Yes.
or writing or like showing up on interviews, because it's also natural for you. So I just love this for you.
Yeah, and
Thank
it's
you.
about being interactive. Like if can I talk about the pitch that I responded to this morning?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for the restaurant that Lydia is working with, is Seed to Sprout, right?
Seed to sprout. Yeah.
Seed to Sprout. Awesome vegan place. And what you did, which I thought was really brilliant, was send a recipe from them, which is sort of like an interactive component, like we're talking about. So like that was very Gemini of you, because you're thinking of like, oh, well, yeah, I'm sending them the recipe. They could write it up, but they could also maybe cook it, or they could post content about it, and like thinking about all those different legs and like all the different sides of sending, like, you know, a cold email,
Yeah.
and all of the different ways that it could take off from there. So I would say that was a very Gemini idea of you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And what's funny about them is they're a vegan restaurant and I'm not vegan. I never have been, but I've always loved
Oh,
their
they're so good.
food. Right.
Mhm.
So it's like that exact component of seeing both sides of the coin where it's like, who cares that they're a vegan restaurant? Their food's freaking good. And so I love being able to represent them, bring people there. We used to go eat breakfast there all the time. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you on behalf of Gemini. No, but I do think that it's a great restaurant, first of all. And then just like one last thing on Gemini's is like, yeah, it's not necessarily two-faced so much as it is, like you said, seeing both sides and like maybe playing devil's advocate a little bit, being
Yes.
like, okay, so what if it's not a good, we're just gonna go with the vegan restaurant.
Yes.
It's not a good vegan restaurant. Like eating vegan's good for you and it tastes better than this steakhouse. So what's your problem? Like kind of just like showing people their biases.
Yeah. Stir in the pot in like a tasteful way.
Fun way. With some butternut squash, perhaps.
With some butternut squash, perhaps. That recipe, I'm gonna try it. Honestly,
No,
they're
same. It does look awesome.
like, yes, please.
All right. So we have Cancer next, June 21st to July 22nd. So Cancer gets a lot of flack for being like the crybaby of the zodiac, but that's not really all they're about. And I would say that they're more like intuitive and just like really connected to their emotions, and very nurturing, like very like mothering energy and like caretaking energy from Cancer. And because they are so into their emotions, I think I need to be working with more Cancers because they are really good at tapping into their personal and heartfelt stories. So a Cancer is always going to be someone who's like able to connect with people through their own narratives. So if you're a Cancer entrepreneur, or even if your brand is a Cancer, like we were talking about, you might think about reflecting on your brand story, or maybe sharing something that's a little bit vulnerable. The celebrity I have in mind here is Selena Gomez. And if you follow her journey, she is very, very vulnerable about her lupus diagnosis and also her mental health diagnosis. I watched her documentary a few years back, where she shared her journey with bipolar disorder. And when you watch something like that or you engage with content like that, you become so much closer to that person emotionally, and you buy into what they're saying, because it's not, like we said earlier, salesy. It's just like the truth. And when you share your truth with people, especially someone who's as emotionally intuitive as a Cancer, it's going to make a big impact, and it's going to like, spread like wildfire, but in a good way, because people are like, oh, wow, did you see what so and so shared? I didn't know she was going through that, or I didn't know that was part of her personal story. I think that that is a great place for Cancer to start.
So this is where like the brands can really lean into like their founder story, what they
Mhm.
experienced, using like details, emotions, and really like leaning into that, because it's probably, I love that you say like that's their gift anyway, and I'm sure that'll be received by the right people when they lean into their authenticity and their vulnerability like even more. And maybe it's their own story, or maybe it's the story of like how the brand
Yes.
came to be, but I think they could really leverage like either one of those. So interesting.
Yeah. And it's not like, again, like not crybaby energy. It doesn't have to be a sob story. It just has to be something that means something to you, and that'll shine through, especially if you're an emotional person.
Yeah, I love that you said it doesn't have to be a sob story. I think almost all Cancers I know, I joke around that I collect Cancers and Scorpios. I love my water signs,
I love
but
Cancers as well.
love them. And I think it's because a lot of them are able to tap into that vulnerability in a way that's so tasteful, like not being a sob story, but being able to really extract, an emotion from something. It could be something as silly as, and I always joke around like, I saw a gap in the market. Maybe I wanted headphones that didn't have wires. And so I created the AirPods and like, but I'm sure this person maybe had a story that uh is resonant to the right person, and it's just the way you tell it. So if you need help with that, Jackie, Tempera.
Yeah, JackieTempera.com. Yes, that is the essence of story magic. So I think I'm gonna start targeting more Cancer Sun and Rising. So watch out,
Yeah.
everyone. All right, Bridget. Leo is next. So July 23rd to August 22nd. And theme of Leo is really just like charismatic, bold, leader. I mean, the animal that we associate with Leo is a lion. So it's like, like the king or the queen of their group. So we know Leos love to be center of attention, but we also know they like to be center stage, which is so true for you too, Bridget. Like, I think Leos are natural speakers, they are great communicators. They have a flair for the drama sometimes, which can be really fabulous during a public speaking event or some sort of like front facing campaign, so if you're a Leo entrepreneur or have a Leo baby business, I would lean into your public speaking side for sure. Try and book a stage or something like that. And if you are having trouble with that, maybe creating a stage of your own, whether it is through your own event where you can really like amp up that drama and have the visuals and all of the things that you really want. Or maybe you do it virtually. Maybe you broadcast like your own workshop or speaking event or something like that, just to get people to tune into you, because Leos are so captivating too. And I think very good at like, they like attention, but they're also naturally attention getting because they are kind of like shiny and charismatic people. They have a lot of riz, as the kids would say. So that is my advice for Leo. And classic Leo woman would be Jennifer Lopez. And I don't think there has ever been a more Leo move when when she released her film about her life, her documentary about the making of that film, and then her album to go with the film, all within, I think, 1 week.
I love that. I remember dancing in my living room as a little girl when like Jenny from the Block like
Oh,
came out. I was like, I'm still good times. But this is really, it's very funny. And Lydia has a her rising is in Leo too. So I see some of
mhm,
these things for her as well. But when things work the best for me, it's when I'm usually like putting on some sort of like event where I
mhm.
get to speak, but like other people are like also involved. So I absolutely resonate with that. And Lydia, you know what I'm thinking about right now? Both of us have theater backgrounds.
Yes,
Me
that's
too.
I was
very.
Nala in The Lion King.
Oh my gosh, how perfect.
She was an actual
Wow.
lion.
What a star.
Wait,
That's a
this
big
is the
role.
Do you want to laugh, Jackie? I don't even know if you know this is the most Leo thing Bridget's ever done in her entire life. So, as we know, she's a speaker. She's shiny. She's got big hair, beautiful locks, really. And
Yes.
then, like a few months ago, she messages me and she goes, "Hey, so like Home Goods is Home
Oh,
Goods is
yes.
casting for this commercial." And I just like sent in like a thing because I was like, why not? I love Home Goods. And she got the part in the commercial. And not only does this thing live on forever because they keep posting like
It's
reels and
hilarious.
TikTok, it's amazing. It's just her shopping, but she got like a gift card. And it's just like people are trying to be actors like all over the world. And it just was like something that happened for her in 2 seconds. And it wasn't even like she was seeking it out. But I think a lot of this comes back to her just being so magnetic. She's such
Mhm.
she doesn't even try to do it. She just is that way. Bridget is like a shiny ray of sunshine walking into a room.
I I would agree. And I think that you are so good with like logistics and also just like thinking about like how people are going to receive an event, Bridget. And I feel like that's like you can like, I don't know, like almost like tap into like the energy of the room before it even exists, which I found to be really impressive when we were working together on Raise the Bar. And I think that is probably your personality, but also like some Leo tendencies there.
I love this. I feel really good. I mean, I used to do this before every event, every women's circle I'd ever host. I would do like a little meditation. I would just like call the people in and they were like sitting in the room with me and like I could already
Yeah.
see it. So yeah, that's really funny. Thanks, guys.
Uh,
I'm done for the day. I feel pretty good.
Bridget's gonna sign off now.
Yep.
We'll move on to Virgo. So Virgo is August 23rd to September 2nd, and Virgo precise and service oriented. So Virgos love details. My celebrity Virgo is Beyonce, which I think she's probably like the most popular Virgo, and she really like embodies that because that gal will not drop an album for like 5 years. And then when she does, it's like every single detail and like piece of choreography and outfit and the concert lineup and the film of the concert, like it's all set up and ready. And I also think like she's such a great example too because she like is able to keep things a secret often in the music industry, which is really really difficult. So kind of keeping things like close to the chest and being very precise about it. So if you're a Virgo and you're not an international pop star like Beyonce is, I think focusing on how-to guides, like real data-driven things and things that are just going to like make logical sense is where you're really going to shine because you're so good with the details and like really getting into the weeds that you can kind of like gather that information and then share it with your audience in a way that is digestible in a way that they're going to want to listen and listen to it as well because of your experience and your grounded nature. Virgo is also an earth sign.
Yeah, gosh, I think that's so good. When I think of my Virgos, I do think of precise and I think that's what really makes them magnetic too, being able to like come to the table with all the data points and just be like, oh, okay, it's this. So I love that. That was such a good one.
You know who's a Virgo? Our dear friend Jen Oceana Photography.
Ah,
And
Yes.
one of the things that she's just like really good at is like, obviously, she's a wedding photographer. There are so many moving parts to a wedding, but she's able to like compartmentalize and make it really, really simple and strategic. Like every single step of the way, she loves processes and procedures, and she's so, so good with that. So, any like interaction she usually has with the public, it's very like methodical. Even her like Instagram stuff. Like it looks
yes.
like it's not, but she has put a lot of thought into every single thing that she is like sharing publicly. So there is this just like tactful kind of nature who likes things organized. Like that is Jen. Even though she's super playful because she does have
Yeah.
Sagittarius, she is
Mm.
very Virgo.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Virgos have a lot of great qualities. And I think like, yeah, I think it makes total sense that she's a Virgo. And Virgos are also into aesthetics as well. So it makes sense she would be a photographer and also just like, yeah, focused on like what the end product is going to look like too. Whereas like maybe some of the other, like maybe a water sign is going to be focused on how the end product's going to feel versus how it looks. So that's something to consider as well.
Wow, that's such an interesting quality. I'm thinking about how her and all my Virgo friends like know the latest skincare and all of that. I'm
Yes.
like, oh, okay, okay. So they could lean into that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're in Libra season as of recording this. So September 23rd to October 22nd. So beginning of spooky season. And my words, themes for Libra, elegant and harmonious. And if you know the symbol for Libra, it's the scale. So they're all about finding balance. And Libras, especially, we're in an eclipse moment right now that's in Libra as well. So it's all about like balancing partnerships and relationships. So for Libra, my advice would be to go after that brand partnership that you've had your eye on, or go to that networking event because everybody loves a Libra. Like they're just like that person that's like, oh, like, yeah, like they're just easy to get along with. They're kind of like not really ruffling feathers necessarily. And they can really use that to their advantage, whether it's like shooting for the stars by applying to like, I don't know, be a guest on a talk show or going to a networking event that you might not really want to go to and leaving with like 10 different leads or something like that. And our celebrity is Kim Kardashian, and she is very, very Leo. She has partnerships and everything. Like if you think about it, her whole business is based on her family and the relationships within it, which is a big business partnership at this point. And then she has her hand in so many things. I mean, she's a venture capitalist. She does fashion. She has her beauty brands. She has a really, really strong personal brand. Um, yeah, so I think that she's like a really great and easy example of a Libra as well. And while people don't, I wouldn't say like she's resoundingly loved by the public because of kind of her foray into celebrity. People have strong opinions about her. When you to hear from people that have met her, or if you read interviews with her, she does seem very like easy to get along with,
She does.
likable. People always say she's very, very nice. So I think that's the
Mhm.
Libra in her as well.
Yeah. And even thinking about this, excuse me, even thinking about this scale, and I think about that Libra energy, it's having a strong opinion on something, but being able to deliver it in a way that doesn't, like you mentioned, like ruffle feathers and kind of have like that balance to it. So definitely Kim K, where she's like very much standing for all of her things. But then when you listen to her on an interview, you're like, damn, she's likable. Like she's really likable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like even like with her, she's a lawyer, right? So, or I don't know if she actually passed the bar or not, but
I did
I think
hear about rumors about law and her.
yeah, she's legal adjacent, but she does a lot of
Yes.
work with with um the prison system. And I think that that is something that's like a really difficult message to get across, but the way that she does it is very like sleek, and she has like her kind of ducks in a row and communicates it in a very appealing way, I would say. All right. So we're going to move on to my favorite, which is Scorpio, which is me. Yay. Yeah, so Scorpio is October 23rd to November 21st. Scorpio's a water sign, and they're known as being very intense and just like big lovers of transformation. So having different like periods of time where they're like really into one thing, and then they kind of like rebirth and they're into something else. So for Scorpio, like we kind of like to be a little provocative and like maybe get into like some taboo subjects. So for me, that's my, horoscopes. But I think like again, this is about like bringing up that idea, that unpopular opinion you have, or that like brand new idea that you have about like some like sex education technology, or something that people are maybe not like always willing to talk about but needs light shined on it. Scorpios are truth tellers. They are gonna get to to the bottom of the situation. And I think of that like little emoji of like the girl with the magnifying glass, like the little like spy emoji. Like that's Scorpio energy to me, is like they're bubbling under the surface. They're trying to figure something else out. And my Scorpio celebrity, I had Drake, but I'm really not vibing with him at the moment, so I'm not going to claim him. And we're going to go Katy Perry. Although she's also having a challenging moment. I think she's someone where you can see like she's really not afraid to just like say what's on her mind, and like even if she gets a lot of flack for it. So like she was on the Call Her Daddy podcast, and she was like what did she say? Scorpio is also very sexual, so she was like saying how if her husband cleaned the whole house, she would give him oral sex. So I didn't know what the
You could
rules
say a
are over
blowy. I'm pretty
a
sure she
blowjob.
would.
It's like, what are the rules here on Visibility Era? So yeah, so that's what she said on the podcast. And then, there was a million like think pieces about it of like, oh, you shouldn't have to, your husband should be cleaning, like he shouldn't be rewarded with sex, da 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 da. But it just kind of shows that she's like cheeky. She's not afraid to kind of like tap into this, and like whether or not you like the comment or not, she did get a ton of press off of it, and it was just like a one-off interview. She's also someone like who, if you look at her albums, they have very different like energies, and based on what she's promoting, she even kind of like physically takes on new identities as well. Like if you think back to like the California girls with her like whipped cream boobs
Wait,
or
did she
whatever.
sing I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It?
Yes. Yes, she
Okay, because
did.
then I think about her song Dark Horse, which was like so much
Yes.
more Scorpio to me. Like when I think of that song, it's like kind of like deviant, like darker, kind of like moodier. And one thing that I thought of as you're saying all this, Jackie, and no wonder why you're a Scorpio, like little investigator, getting to the bottom and like deep. But like maybe in the pitches they can really really lean into the transformation because they're able to really understand and like
Yes.
identify with that, like the magic of the pivot and like telling that story because they've had all these like little breadcrumbs that have shifted throughout their life. Very cool. Jackie, you're such a Scorpio.
I
Very
am. And I
interesting.
think Scorpios are so into like rebirths and transformations, like I said. So, yeah, I think that not only do they have like experience in their own life going through those transformations, but they also like can tell people how that works, like kind of
Yeah.
shepherd them through that experience.
Yeah, definitely. For Scorpios, I also see them as individuals that are not afraid to kind of do or say what they want, but I also see the other end of them being so tapped into their emotions. So speaking of like Libras kind of with the balance, it's almost like Scorpio is not afraid to dive deep on both sides and then come out same as what you were saying, kind of that whole like transformation thing. But what I love about that is they're so okay with, or it's so normalized for them to dive deep, but they're just like, yeah, like you didn't, this isn't like a thing we do. Like when Katy Perry was just saying what was on her mind,
Yeah.
she was like, oh, this isn't something everybody does or talks about. Like, so
No,
it's this,
literally.
yeah. So this like sense of fearlessness that I love. And what Bridget was saying, like tapping into that transformation because they understand it so well. If you're a personal brand, like honestly going on podcasts, I think that Scorpios are very interesting and that could be really great for you.
I agree. Yeah, Scorpios are interesting and they get deep. And I think as a Scorpio, something that people are always saying is like, oh, I don't usually tell people that, or like,
Yep.
I've never actually shared that with anyone before. And I'm like, haha, like, I mean, not that I'm like being mischievous about it, but
Yeah.
it does like I do like to hear like the deeper parts of people. So it
Yeah.
makes me feel seen when people share things like that with me. And I think
Yeah.
that's very Scorpio. So if you are pitching, like Bridget said, I think showing those transformations, getting deep, like being vulnerable, getting into your emotions, your water sign energy, that's going to be great for you. So this is one of my favorite signs, Sagittarius, November 22nd to December 21st. And Sagittarius are just very fun, I find, and they're very adventurous and they tend to see like the optimistic side of things. So they're kind of like a glass half full kind of a vibe, and they are a fire sign. So definitely like very bold and ready to take action. So, my advice for Sagittarius would be to really launch like a thought leadership campaign. So, find a topic that you're really passionate about and really start speaking about it, because your energy as a Sagittarius, as a fire sign, is going to shine through so strong, and it's really going to like radiate through whatever medium you are working with. So, whether that's you speaking, whether it's you recording videos or just like really showing your personality and your drive in your pitches, that's going to land with whomever you are reaching out to. And our celebrity is Miss Taylor Allison Swift. She is a Sagittarius. I'm a fan. I'm a Swiftie. And I feel like we could see a lot of her like adventurousness in her songs. They may be about like kind of like mundane life things, but everything to Taylor Swift is like a big ballad. Like even like something as simple as like cleaning up after her New Year's party inspired a whole, album and song, and then, like merch, and has all of these different legs. So I
Yeah.
think that she is a good example of that. And also, Sagittarius like to travel. So if there's a way for you to incorporate travel into your promotion of yourself, your PR, I think that's always a good thing too.
Yeah, gosh, that could even be like activations or like
Mhm.
little things like that where you can bring people to retreats. I know a lot of brands do that. That
Yes.
could be something really, really interesting. I have a friend down here who is, I just found out and I was like, I'd never even heard of this. She is a Sagittarius sun, moon, rising, and north node. And I was like,
Oh,
oh my God.
that's
But
intense.
it's intense, but what you're saying really resonates with me because she is somebody where you could come to her with like any mundane thing and been like, I was really thinking about this. Like it could be like something silly about like, I was really, I was making pasta and I was thinking about how it's slowly boiling and that kind of resonates with my life. And she would have the most insightful thing to say back. She'd be like, it's funny you were saying this. And it is just so insightful. And when I think about Scorpio, I mean, it's not Scorpio, Sagittarius, I think about them having really unique perspectives, like a higher wisdom almost, which maybe, pulls in from like the being a traveler and kind of seeing the way a lot of different people and things and ways of being. And then they come back with a unique perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they always have something to share, and Sagittarius is always like down, you know,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like your that's like, oh, want to fly to like I'm thinking of a friend of mine who's a Sagittarius. She's always traveling. If I want to go somewhere, I'm always like, oh, I can call Anastasia, she'll want to go. And I think that that could be applied to, yeah, like you said, like doing a retreat, doing brand activations. She actually does host retreats and they do very well, which I think makes sense because she herself is, people see her traveling. So then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to travel with that person too. And I think it's like bringing people like along, inviting them into your party.
Yeah. God, so
All
good.
right.
I feel like these are accidentally like horoscopes too. So
I know they
I'm
are.
learning
It's
so
been
much from
fun.
this.
I know, I'm loving this. All right. We have our final three. Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th, and theme is ambitious and strategic. So Capricorns, I'm a Capricorn moon. I think Bridget said she's a Capricorn rising.
Mhm.
Um, kind of known for being like bosses, like literally like in a boss position because they are such hard workers. So Capricorns are really good with like long-term focus as well. So I think my advice for Capricorn is instead of like launching something off the cuff, like really diving in and like thinking about how pitching themselves as in a certain way is going to pay off in the long term. So our celebrity example is Michelle Obama. And I think that she's a really interesting example of a Capricorn. If you think about the way that she worked within the White House, she did create a personal brand for herself when she was the first lady. And she did so much work around like school lunches and keeping children active. And while it was like little pieces of like she worked hard and she did little things every day, like through the garden, through showing up at schools, it really served a longer term goal, which is to make people be healthier, right? And like you're not going to make people be healthy by planting seeds like one afternoon. It like requires long-term strategy and growth. And that's what Capricorn is really great for.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. So even thinking about, I'm pretty sure that visibility on purpose is a Capricorn. So it's hilarious because we always are preaching like
Yes.
long-term strategy. But so yay for us. But I think even for brands that are, or a personal brand or a product brand that is a Capricorn, it's like maybe consistent pitching and like not like I know that you recommended for some brands that bursts of like showing up and then kind of going into hibernation may work
Mhm.
best, but maybe for Capricorns it's having that consistency of showing up in different places and like seeing that long term or that like domino effect kind of come into action for you.
Yeah, like Capricorn is not going to be the one to like book something morning of and just be like, yeah, like let's see how this one goes. Like
Yeah.
they're wanting the time to prepare. Like my Capricorn moon is showing by me having like 17 pages of notes for this podcast this afternoon. I would not, like yes, I could have come up with all of this on the fly, but it wouldn't have been as good. So that's like very Capricorn, and I think you're right. Like Capricorns are gonna want like, oh, on Mondays I send one pitch to this, and on Tuesdays I pitch to podcasts, and on Wednesdays I, go to this workout class. They're just like very strategic and organized people, and also just like very, yeah, like willing to do the work to like
Mhm.
put in those like whatever it is, like 20 minutes to pitch every day or something like that.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm getting so nerdy about this. And we've been thinking about like launching certain programs or launching
I
certain
know.
products and like the energy behind all of that. So cool.
It
This
is
is
really
so
cool. And if
cool.
you think about like when, yeah, like when you're launching your brand or like if like we both have courses, like
Yeah.
now I'm kind of thinking of like the next time I launch a course, like I kind of want to be intentional about like when, because like
Yeah.
it does kind of like influence the energy around us, right?
Totally. Totally. Gosh, this is so fun.
Yes. Story Magic Mastery, my program is a Capricorn as well.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because like your
Yeah, it's
story, the way you
long
talk
term.
about it, yep, it's always
Mm-hmm.
evolving. You talk about like how to not be afraid to shift it and like, oh,
Yeah.
so cool.
Okay. We have Aquarius, January 20th to February 18th. innovative and humanitarian. And my goal is just to like really embrace your weird side. Aquarius is a sun sign. They are kind of out there. They like innovation. So Aquarius is always going to be on like the cutting edge of everything, which is great for them, but maybe it takes like friends and society sometimes a little bit longer to catch up to them. But my advice for Aquarius would just be to like stay the course. Like you're probably the one that's like posting the TikTok that then goes viral in like 6 months because you kind of have that foresight. So like listening to your intuition, even if like, everybody and their mother right now is pitching like demure and demure and brat and feral girl fall or whatever it may be. Make up your own like
Feral
little
girl fall.
I've been pitching a story about feral girl fall. Nobody wants it.
It's so funny.
Isn't it?
I pitched a demure pitch. I don't know if you saw that one. I may
I
have pitched
saw
it to
it.
you. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to do a new spin on demure. And I think it was just like too dorky for everybody, but whatever.
Not just demure took off. No,
But
feral girl fall I think is hilarious. It's on TikTok.
it's
Um,
hilarious.
Somebody pay me to write about it. No, but anyway, I think that's like all about Aquarius is like coming up with their own kind of thing and like beating to their own drum. And these are the people that are like gonna go viral, but like on the weirdest stuff in the world. It's like, really? Like that's how you made your fame?
I have the best example, and I wonder if she is number one, if this song launched during Aquarius or if she is an Aquarius. But the other day, I just kept hearing like Pink Pony Girl on TikTok.
Oh, yes.
Pink Pony Girl. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
Chaperone. I'll look up what
yep.
her astrology is.
I'm so curious. So the other day I went on YouTube and looked it up and I was like, gosh, she looks really young in this music video. And then I looked at the music video. 4 freaking years
Mhm.
ago, she released this song and now it's going viral on TikTok. And she is known to be a queen. She will wear like drag queen makeup. Like, I think that's the whole point of her brand.
Yes.
I hope so. Okay. I'm like,
Mhm.
I hope so. And I
Yes.
watched her. I'm like a nerd. Once I like an artist, I will go down the rabbit hole and I will
Yes.
watch like their interviews and everything. And I watched her Tiny Desk on NPR and she had this like really cool, big and bold outfit.
Oh my
And
God, I know. It was great, right?
it was great. And I read this whole thing about how she didn't realize fame was going to like happen so quickly for her and it's overwhelming. And she talks a lot about mental health. And so to me, that is the most Aquarius energy of all time of like not launching for four or not getting famous for 4 years, staying the course, and then just literally doing her own thing. Is she an Aquarius?
She is like a Pisces, but she's on the
Okay,
cusp. Like
cusp.
she's like the first day of Pisces. So
Yep.
but I feel like she has, I mean, I think, yeah, like this, like I'm looking at this article from her campus and they're like,
Yeah.
she missed being an Aquarius by literally one day.
That's so
Because she
funny.
does have very Aquarius energy. And you're right. It's like, yeah, she had this like whole vision and like, I'm sure now that you've like engaged with one chaperone video, they'll be coming out of the woodwork because that's what happened when I started liking her. And also then my TikTok thought I was trying to come out, like that I was a lesbian.
Wait,
I watched so many Chapel Roan videos that it was like, here's how you know if you like girls.
you are gonna cry. So my friend who is gay and she also is an advocate for people coming out. She's the
Mhm.
one that told me about TikTok like a few years ago. And so
Ah.
she like set me up on it and she was my first friend on TikTok
Oh, so
and
then they
all of
were
her
like,
stuff. Yeah, and all of her stuff is about like being okay with your sexuality, coming out, everything that she's literally a life coach for that. And so I'm thinking it's like Instagram. I'm liking, I'm engaging because I'm trying to like not understanding the algorithm. And I'm like,
yeah.
this is my friend. I'm supporting her. This is so great. And then I'm only getting on my For You page like things about coming out. And I was like, I messaged her. I'm like, hey, like, why am I only getting lesbian stuff? I mean, like, it's cool. But like, and then I started
No
following
problem with
accounts
it.
because they were cool and funny. And so to this day, 2 years later, I have a lot of lesbians in my For You page, but she told me how the algorithm worked. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll
She
stop.
sounds like an Aquarius too.
Honestly, I think she is an Aquarius.
No, that's really funny. Yes, Chaperone is big Aquarius energy in the sense that she was like, yeah, like I'm gonna be playing my keyboard on the street in California and I'm just going to keep singing my songs over and over and over again. And finally,
Yeah.
one day you guys are going to catch up to me because I'm doing something different here. And my celebrity example for this is Oprah. My favorite girl. She's an
Yes.
Aquarius, and like she had such a visionary approach to like media. Like she's the first, in my view, like the first person that had like a real like media empire and like a personal brand to the level that we all kind of aspire to on social media now.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, Oprah is like the best example of that. And I feel like she is the example of like a slow burn almost, where,
Mhm.
yep, where she has been at it since what, the 80s?
Yeah, like she
Yeah.
was a news anchor.
Wow.
Mhm.
And now she's built this like massive brand, but it took time. So
Right.
interesting.
Then
I
she's
love
been
it.
famous for so long that I think people are like, what would she know about not being famous? But she grew up in poverty and like had a really rough childhood. Um, yeah, we love Oprah. And now look at her. She's on the cover of her own magazine every single month.
Literally the cover of her own magazine.
Which is so, I think it's hilarious. Nothing makes me laugh more than like looking at whatever Oprah cooked up for her cover shoot of the month.
Have you seen Drew Barrymore has her own magazine now?
No, but I love that for her.
She literally does. I think I saw it like last year. I went to Barnes and Noble because every once in a while, as a publicist, I'll go to
I
Barnes
love
and
Barnes and
Noble.
Noble.
I
Mhm.
mean, obsessed, but I'll go in the magazine section and I'll like take pictures of all of the
Yes.
editor pages, and I'm like, who's writing for print now? Because if you don't know, a lot of the times they're separate. There's print writers and there's digital, and now it's kind of merging, but like, it used to be very
That's
separate.
really smart, Lydia.
Oh my
To
God,
look
thank
to
you.
just take pictures of the mastheads. That's very smart. I
I
wouldn't think
do
of that.
I do that in the lines at the grocery stores. They probably think I'm insane. They always look at me weird and I'm like, whatever, I'm not buying this today unless it's
But
a
don't
good
worry
one.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless it's a good one. I did buy one of the home magazines the other day. I forget which one, but it was like, it really got me. It was like French decor, like French country decor on the cover. I was
Yes,
like, ooh, I
that's
need this.
fun. Yeah, we do need that.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I
I don't
didn't see
even,
Drew
yeah.
Barrymore has one. I feel like she's a Pisces, but I don't know that one off the top of my head. But is it just called like Drew?
I think it is just called Drew. I have to look it up.
Love that for
I
her.
saw her and I was like, huh.
Drew Barrymore is a Libra, which as we said, like everybody loves Drew Barrymore. Like
Ev
nobody dislikes Drew Barrymore. That's why she's so good at her show. And she like
yep.
literally sits in everyone's lap. Like she's such
Yeah,
a
the
little
only thing people
weirdo.
can do, the only thing people can talk shit about her is like the fact that she is wanting to sit in your lap. Like, how sweet, like a
She has
little puppy
no
dog.
sense of personal boundaries, physical
Honestly,
boundaries, I should say.
if Drew Barrymore wanted to sit on my lap, I'd let it happen. I'd be like, come
Any
on.
day. Yeah,
I
come
it's
here,
like
sister.
yeah, like Santa Claus. Come here.
Yeah, come upon my lap. All right. So to bring us home, we have Pisces, another water sign, February 19th to March 20th. Pisces are so like dreamy and creative and like all about like magic and enchantment. Very like daydreaming kind of energy. So I think my advice to Pisces is like again like more like immersive experience and like really trying to like tap into a sense of wonder, whether it's through your writing in pitches or through like an activation or a campaign that feels really like out of this world, like almost like ethereal. And my example for this is Rihanna is a Pisces, and
Yes.
which makes so much sense. And if you know about her brand Savage Fenty and her fashion shows that she does with them, they're always like very like big and bold, and she has like all of these like crazy different elements to them, and people of all different like shapes and sizes and colors and abilities walk on the runway, and they always have big themes, and she's kind of like going up against Victoria's Secret, which is delivers the same thing on a platter every single year. So just like really tapping into that creative water sign, intuitive energy for Pisces.
Mhm. When I think about Rihanna, I also think about like siren eyes and like,
Mhm.
yeah, and Pisces are like the fish and like water
Yes.
signs. And I think a lot of Pisces have that natural allure to them. So like really just using that as your advantage of like of just allowing them to almost come to you, but also be like letting them know you exist. So still
Mhm.
pitching, but just like allowing them to come to you almost.
Yeah, and like being like allowing yourself to like lean into your like weird and creative side,
Yeah.
like with
Yeah.
some fun, like maybe like social videos or things like that, where you're just like really tapping into your artistry and your creativity.
Yeah. Such art. Yep. Totally agree.
Hmm.
Did we just go through all of them?
We did. We did. That was so fun.
That was so much fun. Thank you for coming on. And
Of course.
if you don't know, which you wouldn't, we are recording this during eclipse week, which is just really funny that we happen to talk about astrology during a very astrologically charged, cosmically charged time.
That's for damn sure.
That's for
I hope
damn
when this
sure.
podcast is out, the energy is much calmer than it is today.
Yes, yes. We can only hope, but it's the cycles. You know, it's so funny. Every time I think about like last year around this time, it's always a very transformational time for people. So I
Mhm.
think this is a great episode to release this for next. I think we're going to release it like next week or the
Cool.
the week after, so it'll be before Halloween. But to really think about going back to your brand and like who you are and how you can best adjust and pitch to what feels good to you, because at the end of the day, authenticity is what's going to help your brand succeed.
Yeah, so lean into your astrological chart, friends.
Jackie, thank you so much for coming on today. This was so much fun. And it was also selfishly
You.
a good time for us to
Yes,
see
I
you.
loved it. It
I'm like,
was
yes,
so good.
our friend.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. Let us know if you end up implementing any of these tips.